Hello. A story from the Hebrew Scriptures that we sometimes read on this lectionary Sunday coming up, but not this year, is that of Esther. It's a great story and always timely. So let me share her story. Through various circumstances, King Xerxes took Esther as queen of Persia. But Esther keeps it a secret that she's a Jew, and for good reason. Xerxes' right-hand man is a raging anti-Semite named Haman, who would be appalled if he learned that his new queen is Jewish. He wants to destroy the Jews who were there in Susa after the exile. One Jew in particular bothers him, Mordecai, who raised Esther, who was his orphaned cousin. He's a loving but a stubborn man. So one day when Haman comes prancing by, Mordecai refuses to bow down and grovel in the dust like everybody else. And it's the break Haman's been waiting for. So he tells the king about Mordecai's insubordination and says it's an example of how the Jews as a whole don't respect the king or his laws. He says the only thing to do is exterminate the whole pack of them like rats, and offers the king money for the privilege of organizing the operation. Well, Xerxes pockets the money and makes the necessary proclamation. Well, when Esther finds out about Haman's plan, she tries to stay out of it. She tells Mordecai there's nothing she can do. It's just too dangerous. And her cousin replies, don't think you're sitting high and dry there in the palace. If you don't do anything, deliverance will come from somewhere else, but maybe you've gotten where you are for just such a time as this. For just such a time as this. That's what cousin Mordecai said to Esther. Maybe the reason you're here, he says, is to do what needs doing. And you? Perhaps God has put you here in Iredell County in 2021 for just such a time as this. There's brokenness and hurt in this time for you to heal. There are children, youth, and adults in your neighborhood who do not know the redeeming love of God, waiting for you to be that love to them. There are lonely hands waiting for you to hold them. There's a beautiful world in serious danger waiting for yours and my better environmental stewardship. There's truth waiting for you to tell. So who knows, maybe you've come for just such a time as this. Esther had a great deal to lose. Her position and security as queen, her very life as a newly discovered Jew, and besides, what king would listen to her? But Esther holds the hopes of her people. So risking her life, she speaks courageously. I will go to the king, though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. Esther did not perish. Through courageous wit and wisdom, she won the confidence of the king, entrapped Haman and his family upon his own gallows, preserved her people from slaughter, and saw her cousin Mordecai elevated in rank next to the king himself. So, opportunity is no accident. God relates with us, calling, challenging us through opportunities. We might not understand every step and every detail, but somehow God's purpose is there to be revealed at the right time. We receive only glimpses of God's purpose, inviting us to enter and see more clearly. As we grow in our faith, we grow in our understanding that God is at work in more ways than we'll ever know. We learn that God has purposes beyond us and our needs, beyond our churches and buildings, beyond heaven and all the saints of heaven. God is at work for every man and woman, every girl and boy. God cares for all God's people's spiritual good and also for their health and their work and their wages and their happiness. So wherever people live with compassion, God is there. God's at work in Sunday school teachers and loving grandparents and hopeful children and any who have the willingness to let God work through them. They feed the hungry. They heal the sick. They point the lost home. They listen to the lonely. They care for the hurting. If we open our eyes to see God at work, we'll discover that God is working in us. So seize those opportunities. God's people are more than passive spectators of passing time. God has sent us here to redeem the time we've been given and to be a part of God's work in the world. We're here in this place and time. We're not in 2nd century Bible land. We're here because we, like the men and women of their day, have a place and a purpose. So who knows? Maybe you've come for just such a time as this. Have a good week.